What marks a successful season for the Dallas Mavericks, for Luka, for Kyrie, for Dereck Lively, for Omax, and more? We'll tell you on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show and making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. Where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section what would make a successful season for the Mavericks. You can name anything. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook partner of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. And joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, contributor at Mavs.com, the successful sir, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
1 week from today, we have a preseason game in the AAC.
Excited.
Detroit Pistons coming to town. So we got this kind of like a off period here. We got like a week. Mavericks and their traveling crew coming back into town yesterday, or flying back yesterday, and get a few days off, practice on Monday, and this is the recovery time for any of the injuries, any of the stuff.
I need a recovery beer.
It's kind of like resetting training camp in a way.
It feels like it.
As they head back to practice on Monday and then a game next Friday. So we're almost there.
We're almost into the season. We're almost there. We've got 3 weird preseason games in the rearview mirror. And so today we wanted to do what would make a successful season for the Dallas Mavericks. We'll go through the Mavericks themselves. We'll go through players, Luka, Kyrie, the rookies, Jaden Hardy. I want to go through a bunch of that stuff. So we'll talk about
Assistant
that.
Coaches.
But let's head athletic trainers. But before we do that, let's talk about what would make a successful season for the Mavericks themselves. And I think to me, you can say what level they need to get to in the season, but to me, it's just make the playoffs at any cost. If it's through the play-in, your dreaded play-in that you hate with all your guts, if it's making the 6th seed and then you're in the playoffs, like either way, you got to make the playoffs because they got to get the experience. Like they've got to get this, the camaraderie, the experience that they get. This, the group got to playing the Clippers. They need to get that again with this new group, and I think that it starts with just making it. I wouldn't even say win a series. I'll just say just make it. That would be a successful season.
Yeah, I think I'll take it a step further. I think it's win a series.
So if they make the playoffs and they don't win a series, it's not a successful season.
I think I'll land there, yeah. Because I think on the grand scheme of things, I think right now, yes, there are scenarios, of course, that could play out to where, hey, they coming out of the play-in and they face Denver in the first round of a series.
Right.
It's like, but see, I just don't know if that's I don't know if I would call that a success. Like if they snuck in as the 8th seed and then got swept by Denver in the first round, I just don't know if that's a success for me. I think they have to win a series for it to be a successful season for me.
So you're almost like they've got to get to the 4, 5, 6 spot, or 3, 4, 5, 6 spot to be a successful season, kind of, because you don't want them playing in the play-in, and then you also don't want them to get trounced in the first round. So they got to get.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of depends on who the 2 seed. Like, there's really not somebody outside of Denver right now that I think is like an automatic.
L.
Yeah, an automatic L. And I mean, ask me again in like 2 months, and
We'll
I'm sure there's some.
like.
Yeah, there could be somebody that just Phoenix could just look unbelievable, or the Lakers.
That hurt him physically to say that.
God, it did.
I think they'll be good. They're a pretty deep team.
I just think if you have a guy who, I mean, we're about to talk about what it looks like for Luka to be, have a successful season. But like, if you have a guy that's an MVP candidate, you just signed Kyrie Irving. I mean, these are 2 win now guys that you want to win a ton of basketball games with. And, you sign him to this massive contract. You basically have 2 max guys. You got some other pieces around him. There's a lot of question marks there. But I just think, yeah, I know they missed it last year, and there's this whole big thing. They lost on purpose. Everybody freaked out because they invented tanking, air quotes there for non-YouTube people. But it's just, I don't know. I think where they're at and the top talent of their roster, I think success has to be win a series.
I just want everyone to know he did not do air quotes. He just said air.
I did. I'm doing them right
quotes.
now, but I realized they weren't on camera.
Yeah, I was saying, you can't even see
They're
your
like
air
under
invisible air quotes. I'm doing that. So yeah, that's just the level I think they have to hit is to make the playoffs. You think they need to win a first round series, and that would be a success because they have to get that experience. They have to build that. They have to. And my next thing for the team is they've got to figure out, first of all, if Kyrie and Luka work, that's a different thing. But they've got to figure out which of their younger rotation players, so your Grant Williamses, your Josh Greens, your Dante Exums, your Derrick Jones Jr.'s, if those guys can be high-level rotation players on a playoff team, right? Like you've got to figure out of those four, which ones can. Then you've got the Maxey, Tim Hardaway, Seth Curry, Dwight Powell, Rashawn Holmes. Those are like your older rotation players. Those ones are like, all right, who can still be in a couple years? Like figure out the path for those guys moving forward. I think getting to the playoffs will inform you of that, like inform you of which of those guys are ready and which of those guys can still contribute and and all that. And I think that's the next step of success is to figure out which of those guys, whether they may either make the playoffs or win a series or not. You've got to figure out those things out too with those guys.
Yeah, I mean, if we took wins or standings out of this and just said, what are some other things that would need to happen for you to say, yes, make Kyrie and Luka work on the basketball court, develop your young guys, your first round picks.
Is with Luka and Kyrie, I kind of glossed by it. Is it make it work or figure out if it works?
Yeah, it's more figure it out, but
because there's a scenario where if you figure out if it works, what if you figure out it doesn't work?
Then you cut bait.
Then the season would, I guess if you find out it doesn't work, the season's not a success anyway, right? Like,
no, I mean, I think we would tie it into that. It'd be this season, you're just like, oh, well, so yeah, at least they figured out if it worked. Okay,
so then I changed my point. A successful season would be making Luka and Kyrie work. I'm with you now. That would be a successful season because if they figure out it doesn't work, it's not a successful season, right? Like,
no,
that would be bad. So, but yeah, it's make those two guys work together. That's it.
Yeah, I agree.
The next one I think for team is Dereck Lively just has to take steps. I think he's starting from a good place, but he's just got to take steps, which we all expect. There's not too much more expected of him that would make a successful season. Like if he starts opening night and is fine and can play and can contribute, that's success already. And then I'll go figure out if Jaden Hardy has another gear. That's like my other one for the team themselves, because I left him out of the young rotation players because I don't think he's ready yet. But they've got to figure out, like, does he have an extra gear to go to?
Yeah, I put figure out what his role is. Like, I feel like you almost got to define kind of. But I also said that about Josh Green, and I had to eat my words on it a little bit. I thought I was pretty. I kind of overlooked the 2020 effect on Josh Green rookie season. He got drafted literally in November, and how weird the start of his career was. But I was pretty confident. Yeah, with Rick, I was pretty confident after 2.5 years. I'm like, nah, I think I know what Josh is. And then he upped it a notch, and I feel a little bit different about Josh now.
Yeah, so I'm going to take the same approach I did with Josh Green. I'm going to slow roll it. I don't think we'll figure out what Jaden Hardy's role is. I just want to see what else he can do in his career, because I think we saw in year one with Jaden Hardy that he can be an efficient player, that he can play this secondary creator off ball, but then on ball a little bit. He can shoot the three well. He can get hot. Like, those are the things that we found out about him, where we thought maybe him coming in, at least for me doing my draft research, I was like, this guy's got to be so good at so many little things for him to be good in the NBA. And then he was good at some of those things. And so I think the next one is just figure out what's his next gear. Figure out, because then we can project where he's going. I'm still following his path is the same as a Jordan Poole, Tyler Hero, Tyrese Maxey, Anthony Simons. I'm still following the path that those guys blazed before him. And then my last one for the team is Omax works to contribute and take steps. If they can get Omax to contribute at some time this year, then I think that's a success for the team. Just to get him to that baseline.
Look at Giardi trying to split them up. I said develop the rookies, get the rookies,
One of them is
rotation.
starting, and the other one was playing with the Exhibit 10 players. So I think Jason Kidd's the one that separated
The other
them.
one started 2.
One game.
Yeah.
No, so did Derek Jones Jr. Coming up, what's success for the players? What's success for Luka? What's success for Kyrie? We'll talk about that and more coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has you covered with all kinds of props and odds and lines and stuff for the MLB playoffs. The Rangers. Let's see. The ALCS, they are plus 126. They're the underdogs against the Astros right now to win this series. So you can go check that out right now. They have game 1. The Astros are 1.5-point favorites. 1.5 points in baseball. That feels like a lot. So again, check it all out. FanDuel.com/lockedon has you covered. New customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Place that $5 bet. You get $200 you can put on the Rangers. You can put on Luka MVP odds, all kinds of other stuff. Again, check it out. It's FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started.
I need a recovery beer.
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day to the show. If you want to support the show, text us, get text alerts from us. I did a Q&A today where I answered every single question that was sent in on Subtext. There was dozens of them. It took me a while to get through all those, but I answered all of your questions. So subscribe to our Subtext. Click the link in the description. Text the number on the screen. It's right under Isaac right now. So there it is.
Right
there
here,
it goes.
right here.
All right, Isaac. What success for Luka Doncic this season?
Okay, so one, we gotta say this. This is individually, right? Because I think
We did team already. Yep.
yeah, we already did team, and we're not gonna sit here and answer success for Luka means a title, like a team success thing.
For him, it would.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like for him, I think the players would answer differently on a lot of these. But for us, if we're just looking at individual season outside of team success, what do I think? What do we think is that mark? And for me, for Luka, is finish in the top 3 in MVP. Like, and because if you finish the top 3 in MVP, it feels like there's team success tied to that. But actually finish there. He's been projected in that top, for MVP odds for multiple years now. And now let's put together, if he finishes top 3 in MVP, that means health is, combined with that means a lot of different things. So yeah, I think that's the one I landed on the most.
This is where, according to Basketball Reference, this is where he's landed on MVP the last 4 years. 8th last year, 5th the year before that, 6th the year before that, that's 2021, and then 4th in 2020, the bubble year. I agree with you. That's a great one. I hadn't thought about MVP. I thought maybe would MVP, winning MVP be success? But yeah, top 3 totally is would be a successful season for him because it is tied to that team success. It is tied to the team has to be good. He can win. He can get first team All NBA again. And that not be a successful season. I would argue last season was not a successful season for Luka because they didn't make the playoffs. Seemed like he regressed in some areas defensively, especially. And then he made first team All NBA, and okay, well, it didn't make success then. So yeah, I think it's got to be that. Now, obviously, the team success is so tied to Luka. I don't think you can think about one without the other because where Luka goes, the team goes. Where the team goes, Luka goes, and he's going to be judged based on how the team does, basically, right? And so yeah, I think it's very tied to Luka. Anything about his conditioning, his defense, his, arguing with the refs, is there anything in that you would tie to a successful season for Luka? If we're having the same conversations about his defense, about his conditioning, and about his arguing with the refs at the end of this upcoming season that we did at the end of last season, can it still be a success?
Yeah, I think that's where I landed on. I feel pretty confident that Luka can still argue and get texts and still be a leader in the league in texts and have a really dang good season.
Yeah,
and
the text thing, sure.
Be a top. The in shape thing was hard for me to put a qualifier on or a measurable thing on it besides be hey, a successful season is him being in shape all year. I just don't know how to.
Well, I think there's one thing is that he doesn't look gassed at the end of games, right?
Yeah.
We saw a lot of times last year that he was just gassed at the end of games. That's why the Mavericks weren't good in clutch games. They weren't good in one score games towards the end of it. And so I think that's one thing that again, like you said, it's really hard to measure. It's hard to figure out, is he gassed, is he not gassed? But yeah, if he's not gassed, then that'd be great, and that would be a success if he can perform in those. Which I think a full season with Kyrie will help in those.
Yeah, I agree.
What about the defense?
Yeah, defensively, I mean, you would. I just don't think Luka's ever going to be like this like two-way, all defensive guy in the other end. He's got to be above average.
He got a vote. Remember, he got a vote.
Greg Logan.
Greg Logan. Shout out. We should pretend like he's dead.
Gosh.
In memory of Greg Logan's vote.
Love you, Greg.
I think he's just got to get back to 2022 level defense. I mean, that was good enough for them to win 2 playoff series. So he's just got to get back to that level.
And a consistent effort defensively.
Yeah.
Because right. I think when the game's on the line in like fourth quarter, he's not as bad. It's like, all right, let me lock in. When he's locked in, he's not a bad defender.
Right.
To where some other players out there, even when they're locked in, they suck at defense, or they're too small or all that stuff. Luka, when he's locked in, is actually like a decent defender. It's just, he doesn't really have that effort on it all the time. Some of that's impossible to do, to ask him to have 100% effort on defense. But anyway.
But that goes to the conditioning, and it also goes to the clutch factor with him being, tired late in games too. And it goes back to his workload, which we hope Kyrie will help. Like even when Kyrie was added last year, his usage percentage went down from like 40% to 34%. So that's something that we're going to monitor for sure. What about Kyrie himself? What would be success for Kyrie?
Yeah, I put him at 65 games played. He hasn't played 65 games in a season since the 2018-19 season. So that would obviously put him around 17 games missed. So give him, there's going to be different things that pop up or some rest stuff here and there, which I don't know how the rest stuff's going to work. But anyway, 65 games feels like and once again, there's a lot of stuff that is tied in that. If Kyrie plays 65 games, you're hoping that means there's wins attached to that. There's better chemistry and stuff with Luka and all of that. So that's what I landed on.
Yeah, and the games missed for Kyrie hasn't always been injuries, so it's not all tied to injuries. We can't predict some of the other things that have happened, but yeah, with Kyrie, it's just be eligible for those awards, and then it's almost I don't know if it's more on Kyrie or more on Luka to make it work with Luka, but that point we made earlier about team success for the Mavericks is make it work between Luka and Kyrie.
Yeah,
feels like they have to meet in the middle, I guess.
Yeah,
in it, but yeah, it is tied. It's tied to both of them. So yeah, I would throw that in Kyrie's camp. Make it work with Luka, which he has. But
yeah, I would put it with both. Yeah, I would put it with both. I don't know who I'm leaning towards the most, like who's more responsible.
Anything else for Kyrie?
No, I mean, there's different things you could talk about second unit stuff, or if you want to do some lineup combination numbers with Luka, like, hey, on off, a certain benchmark for his on off stuff with Luka, being a certain number, that would be something I'm looking at. But I think games played for me, picking one, considering all the games, missed over the past handful of years for multiple reasons, I think I'd land at games played.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I think maybe figure out the tempo that he wanted to play with last year. I think that's something that we'll see a little bit more of. We didn't get to see it much at all in preseason because it was so fast when Kyrie was in and out that first game. But yeah, figure out some of that kind of stuff too would be a success. If he could get this team moving a little quicker, I think it's mostly on Kyrie to get the team to move quicker into transition a little bit more, and I think that's something that could mark success for him too.
Yeah.
All right, coming up, let's get into the rookies. Let's get into some of the young guys, Grant Williams, Josh Green. Let's go through rapid fire some of those guys and what would make success for them coming up.
Don't believe you shouldn't be here.
My first shot, my first make.
All right, Isaac, let's talk about the rest of the Dallas Mavericks. What would mark success for some of these Mavericks? Let's start with Dereck Lively. I said at the top that he would just have to take steps. And to me, some of those steps are get better at fouling less, and get better at screening. He said that to us at Media Day, that he's got to get better at screening. He's been working with Tyson Chandler on that. And so those are two things I think he's got to get better at. And then the second thing is just become reliable on offense / not a liability. Because I think defensively he'll take those steps. Defensively, that's what he's going to be. But he's just got to not be a liability on offense at a certain point, which the lobs have been great. But, eventually a team will scheme around that. And then what does he do then,
Yeah, it's like what's the trying to think of a non a way to say this. What's a version a 3-and-D guy but for a big? What could we come up with? Like a Duncan D guy?
Duncan D, Dunkaroos.
See, this is where it's gonna get like weird. Like Roland D. Can you be a Roland D guy?
A rim roller and controller. Can you roll and control the paint and roll to the rim?
Can you roll and control?
Who are some roll and control guys out there? Jarrett Allen, Clint Capella, Rudy Gobert. Roll and control. We just came up with that. Let us know in the comment section if you like roll and control.
Okay, for Lively, I put this is where I would put. I don't have a specific number, but this is where I would go into the lineup combo stuff. And
you said Roland D's earlier. I just can't get over that.
I think a successful season for Lively would be at the end of the year, him and Luka's numbers together as like a 2-man combo has like positive net rating, positive, a good offensive efficiency number, defense same way, that you just have positive good numbers with Luka across the board and you're developing that chemistry. That's the best one. I thought about like games started for him and all of that, but
yeah,
I don't know. Do we want to do the game starting? Do those matter or not? Who starts? I just don't know if like starting, Dwight Powell started a bunch of games. I don't know if that means success for him. So
right. Yeah, true.
Anyway.
Your boy, Olivier-Maxence Prosper. What marks success for him?
Yeah, I mean, besides saying like a consistent role in the rotation, like I think for him, like, hey, successful season is being in rotation. I looked at some different like roles last year, and for him and Derek Jones Jr., I kind of gave them the same measure of success, that they become the third wing. They step into the Josh Green role last year and average around that like 20 minutes a game. And I know some people are like freaking out, like, no, there's no way after that preseason. I'm just saying for him, I think for him and Derek Jones Jr., the idea of success for them this season is if they become the third wing defender behind Grant and Josh.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, that would be a successful season for them. I think Omax could still have a successful season without getting like consistent minutes. Yeah. But yeah, no, it would definitely mark success for both of them. With Omax, can he prove the shot consistently by the end of the year? Like, can the Mavericks rely on that? Because if it's not, and then they've got to like rework it or something over the summer, which they've done with Josh, Dorian. They've done that with guys in the past.
I think it's a little more for Omax because Derek Jones Jr. can't shoot either. So
yeah,
I think it's some of the positioning stuff and But
they still need that position if they want Omax to be a high level rotation player soon. He's got to be able to shoot. I mean, just non-negotiable that position to be able to do that. So for Jaden Hardy, to me, he's got to show he has another gear. That's the Mavericks thing they need to figure out. And for Hardy to get that other gear, I think he's got to show some more stuff with the ball in his hands. That's why the Mavericks were focusing so much on that during Summer League. You saw it in these last couple preseason games when Kyrie wasn't playing. He had the ball in his hands a little bit more. And I think he's got to have some explosion games. He's got to have a game where he puts up like 25, 28. Like Jordan Poole in his second year, I compare them a lot because Jordan Poole's first year barely played. His second year, he played a lot because that team was bad. But he had like a 38-point game, and he had like 19, 20-point games too in those. Like he had some games where he just exploded and showed that there was another level that he can get to where I can score on anybody. And if you can score on anybody, then all of a sudden you become more valuable to a team.
Yeah.
So like that. I think he's got to have a couple of explosion games.
That's good. I like that. I mean, I did like a kind of a cop out and just said turnovers. Some of his assist to turnover stuff. This preseason, even going into the summer league and stuff, hasn't been the greatest. So the ball's going to be in your hands. You got to watch the turnovers.
Grant Williams. I think for Grant Williams, he can establish all the things that he already does, and then maybe get himself into an all defensive team conversation. You know what I mean? Like, can he get some votes for that? Can he be on the fringe of it? With that I feel like that would be a successful season for him.
I know that I debated on two things for him. One of them was, yes, land on one of the all defensive teams as, just this
land on it, man.
I don't know. I mean, we're talking about success. The other one for him, and this is ultimately the one I landed on, was 45% from three. And it might sound crazy, like percentage wise, but like that's what he is for like a career average. So he's a dang good 3-point shooter. So if he can shoot 45% from three this season, I think that means he had a successful season.
Dang, you're super high. Make an all defensive team, shoot 45% from three. He would be like one of the most valuable role players in the NBA.
I'm saying one of the other.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say both of those would be amazing.
Well, yeah, both of those would be.
You do both of those. Like, how many players in history have done
that? Okay, let me take it. Sorry, I got my columns mixed up. Let me take it down just a few notches to like 42% from three.
Still good. Yeah.
Yeah, because 2 years ago he shot 41%. Last year he shot 40%. Yeah, I mean he's gonna up his 3-point attempts. So getting to 42% might be kind of lofty expectations on that, but
he's gonna get wide open ones. We've seen it already in preseason. I mean,
he's gonna get a ton. I mean, you look at his 3-point attempts over the past 2 years: 3.7, 3.4. I mean, that's gonna double in a heartbeat. So that's where, yeah, you might even have to lower it down to like 40. It's like, dude, if you shoot 40% from three this season while attempting 7 to 8 threes a game, then that's going to be a monster year for Grant.
I was curious. Here are the players that have made a defensive team and shot the best from three.
Uh-oh.
Kawhi Leonard in 2016 shot 4 threes a game, shot 44% from three on the Spurs. Chauncey Billups in 2006 took 5 a game and shot 43%. Al Horford in 2018 for Boston made an all-defensive team, shot 43%. Then your boy, that could mean anybody at this point. Your boy, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, shot 43% from three in 96 and made an all-defensive team. Chauncey Billups again in 2005 shot 42%, made a defensive. So there you go. Those are the ones that have shot the best from three. There's only been 14 players that have shot 40% from three, taken at least 3 threes, and made an all-defensive team.
Let's go, Grant.
I was going to say. Josh Green. I think Josh Green, just leave no doubt. This has been my phrase for Josh Green all summer. Leave no doubt that you are the starter. That's it. That's a successful season for Josh.
Yeah, I mean, similar vein, I put 50 plus starts.
I'm saying 82 starts. He's leave no doubt. Like, it's got to be, he's the starter unless there's an injury to himself, right? Like,
yeah,
that's a successful season for Josh, taking that next level.
Okay, I'm with you.
Anyone else that you had penciled in? Oh, Dante. I'll do Dante Exum.
Yeah, I had him too.
The first guard off the bench. Be the third ball handler. I think that would be a real successful. Like, we'd finish the season if Exum was like the first guard off the bench, like before Tim, before Seth, we'd be like, oh man, that was a great season from Dante Exum.
Yeah, I put have more minutes than Jaden Hardy and Seth Curry.
All the Jaden Hardy fans just got real mad.
I mean, I think there's going to be moments that kid plays Exum over Hardy. Like,
I think you're right.
Yeah, so that would be my idea of success for him. Did you do one for Tim?
No.
For Tim, I just put he's in a playoff rotation. A playoff rotation.
Yeah, A. Maybe not the Mavericks.
I did some ones for like Maxey and Dwight.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
over 25 minutes per game for Maxey, because he's hovered around that.
I would say under. Let's say under. Like, save himself.
Yeah, okay. And then for Dwight, I put over 41 starts.
I just heard hold on. I just heard a ton of our listeners, 1,000 listeners, just throw up wherever they are.
Did our YouTube comments literally just come from the
DFW
future?
is just full of vomit in the streets.
And then for Rashawn Holmes, I put plays over Dwight.
That's a great. Yeah, that'd be great for Rashawn Holmes. That's success for him for sure.
Yeah. So there you go.
Markieff Morris, let's get on the floor against the Nuggets.
Oh gosh, Markieff Morris.
There you go. Let us know what would be a successful season for the Dallas Mavericks in the comment sections. We're curious what you guys think about all these players. We'll be back. We've got practice on Monday. We'll have a show on Sunday night as well. We'll be talking about the Mavericks and yeah, more stuff like that. So we'll have you covered all throughout this week and more, guys. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.